statement. So there was a bit of a backlash from one section, and then not only from one section, but also MP Sukh Dhaliwal questioned it. Now Minister Ruby Sahota is also questioning. So we'll talk about that. What Prime Minister would say, we'll discuss that. What Minister Anita Anand, because twice, not only she had to talk about this here in Canada, but when she went to India, and I must tell you, our associate editor, Shubhi, who's there, he also asked Minister Anita Anand the same question, and there was many other media outlets which asked. So I'll talk about that, but since we're talking about Canada-India relationship, I think both the sides, India and Canada, they want to strengthen the ties. If I may take back my word, which I think Prime Minister CARNEY is borrowing from me. I use this word a lot, challenging. So Prime Minister Mark CARNEY has used the challenging times or turbulent times, whatever you want to refer to that. So I think seems like the leadership in India and Canada want to leave those turbulent, those challenging times behind and move ahead with strong economic, diplomatic, security, defense ties, and they want to progress ahead. So we'll talk a lot what is happening during this very important tour of our Prime Minister Mark CARNEY. And let me tell you this, the groundwork was set by the Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. When she went to India, she met her counterpart, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. She also met at that time last year in October, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and of course a host of other leaders as well. But other than her, there has been a series of visits before the Prime Minister went there of our cabinet ministers. To start with, Tim Hodgson, our Minister for Energy, because Canada aims to become an energy superpower. So our Energy and Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson, a very close friend, even before they both got into politics, a close friend. They both worked, Tim Hodgson and our Prime Minister Mark CARNEY, they both worked at Goldman Sachs. Then when our Prime Minister came to Bank of Canada as a governor, he brought in, once again, Tim Hodgson was here. So he went there. And before I move ahead, this is the delegation. If you have a look at the midweek, this week's edition of Midweek's Front Page, we have covered on Midweek's Front Page. This is the delegation. So this is Midweek's Front Page, this issue, in case this is Canada's largest free English newspaper. So Canada's largest free English newspaper, this is the front page on your screen. So on the front page, we have covered this, PM CARNEY and his delegation for India Trade Mission. He's going to Australia and Japan as well. But if you look at the delegation numbers, you would see that not only cabinet ministers, MPs now, but also two premiers have also joined the delegation. So it's a huge delegation. So I would say not only at the federal level, but also at the provincial level, the relationship with India is getting better by the day.
Sure. Okay, so
and if you allow me to.
Yeah.
And if you allow me to discuss more details, we'll carry on the discussion. But I think we have our colleague from Y Media, associate editor Shubhi, who was on the plane with the Prime Minister. And our colleague from Y Media, Shubhi, he is traveling with the Prime Minister on his plane. And wherever they go, whether it was Ottawa, then they landed in Greece, and then from there to Mumbai, to Delhi. We have our colleague, associate editor Shubhi, who's continuously following Prime Minister. Shubhi, a warm welcome, and it's good to see you. So you are there at Ground Zero. We want to ask you, of course, I hope you enjoyed the flight. You were with the Prime Minister's plane from Ottawa to Greece to Mumbai. You were there with the motorcade. I see. Tell us your experience there when you went out in Mumbai. And traveling with the Prime Minister's motorcade, you're in Taj and Oberoi at so many nice hotels you're traveling. So share us that experience, and of course we'll get to, wow, look at the streets. I mean, every single street over there, wherever Prime Minister's motorcade is traveling, I see the streets are blocked. There's a lot of security over there. Please go ahead, Shubhi.
No, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And as you guys know, Y Media is here at Ground Zero in Mumbai, India. And again, there's a lot of developments that are taking place here. But if you're asking me about my experience specifically, India pulled out all the stops. One thing that I can definitely say is, as soon as we had landed, we got in our vehicles, and the motorcade rolled out of the airport. And one thing that everyone knows Mumbai is famous for is Mumbai traffic. But on the side that we were driving, it was completely clear. Security was a high protocol here in India. And one thing that I can say is, on every street intersection for the route that the Prime Minister's motorcade was taking, there was a station where police officers were standing holding traffic. But not only that, even on the streets where there were no intersections, every 20 feet or so there was a police officer stationed. So security protocol was very, very high. They cleared the highways, they cleared everything, but the experience was very good, and we're giving you guys ground coverage from here in Mumbai. There's been a lot of developments today as well, a lot of different meetings that took place today as well, and I will be giving you all that analysis very, very shortly with you, Virji.
The developments, I know you were there at different press conferences, whether it was with the Foreign Minister Anita Anand. Did you get a chance to ask any question there? I will show you some videos as well later on, but take us through what are the different press conferences that you attended, what has happened there in India. So please go ahead, Shubhi.
So definitely, there was a press conference, media scrum that took place this morning with the Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand, and Y Media did get the opportunity to ask her a question, and we asked her a question that basically that suggested that, hey, you're here in India, Canada, India are looking to strengthen their ties. How will that benefit Canadians? And that was one question we asked. She gave us an exclusive answer to that question. Along with that, there were other press conferences that took place today. We had the High Commissioner, Mr. Dinesh Patnaik, to Canada from India. Yes, from with him as well. Apart from that, yesterday, as you guys have been following Channel Y, we did have a press conference with the two premiers, the New Brunswick premier and the Saskatchewan base, and shortly we'll show you regarding how strengthening Canadians and Indians as well. And there was a deal that was signed today as well, when it comes to people, when it comes to university students as well, 13 different universities. So we will get into all those details for you guys as well.
For that, but for a minute, I want to stick with the press conferences that you did. Why don't we start with the Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand? Why this is important, because I must tell you that there were two different things. Two different things, because as I was mentioning earlier in the program, what happened was, a senior official from our federal government, announced this thing. A senior official from our federal government announced that India is no longer involved, or their government agents or whatever, they're not involved anymore in the criminal activities that was alleged earlier. Now, when this announcement was made, so right before our Prime Minister was leaving to India, then Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand, she went on to CBC, and she was there with David Cochrane at the Power and Politics, and she clearly was seen defending. She said, she didn't really say this thing, and during the press conference, if you watch clips, when we also asked a question, we'll show you that, the clips of when we asked Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. So the reporters kept on pressing her to get a yes or no answer. The reporters continuously kept on asking her a yes or no question. So will Minister Anita Anand tell the reporters that yes, is India still involved in foreign interference? Did not say yes or no at this point. And we'll also play a clip when we asked Minister Anita Anand there in Mumbai, when we also asked the same question. So here we are. I'll show you the clip when we asked what did she say. And most of the reporters, Catherine Colonel from CBC, Stephen Chase is from Globe and Mail. So most of the reporters, they fired question at her The press conference got so heated, Minister Anita Anand at one point said, please do not yell at me. I am not yelling at you. I'll answer all your questions. So from that point onwards, the press conference did calm down a bit. But before that, you would see it was definitely a shouting match between the press reporters that who could really press Anita Anand for a yes or no answer. They wanted a yes or no answer. And the question was very simple. Is India still involved? Because we saw the law enforcement agencies alleging that Indian government's agents are involved here in criminal activities. So that was alleged. Now a federal government representative is saying no, India is no more involved in this one. So period, it's over. And otherwise the trip would not have happened. Of course they're putting guardrails to it. Of course they are putting safeguards to it. So this was the question. But let me play this video for you. Shubi, you could stand by there. Let me play this on full screen when Shubi asked this question to Minister Anita Anand in Mumbai. And before the Prime Minister comes in front of the media, I think Prime Minister Mark Carney is sending Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand to do damage control, if I may. So let's see what the question that we asked and what our External Affairs Minister, how she responded. Let's have a listen.
A lot of different things on your agenda that you're going to be discussing during this trip. Is there something that you guys are treating as priority one, and how will that benefit Canadians?
Priority one is to ensure that the dialogue on public safety and security continues, to focus on concerns relating to the rule of law, to ensure that respect for the Criminal Code of Canada exists at all times, to address concerns of foreign interference and transnational repression. In addition, in this stressed global economic environment, we are engaging with countries around the world to elevate Canada's economic interests and to leverage our competitive advantages, including in areas such as agriculture, critical minerals, energy, artificial intelligence. So there are two tracks here. One is the priority position of the public safety dialogue, and two is the work we're doing on the economy. We are working to diversify and double non-US trade over the next 10 years. We have signed 12 trade agreements over the last 6 months, over 4 continents. This is the work that we are continuing to do in this country and around the world.
If you agree.
So as you hear on the background, the shouting match between the press reporters continues. And then, as I mentioned earlier, External Affairs Minister Anita Anand had to calm down when she mentioned, please do not yell at me. I'm not yelling at you. And I'll give answers to each one of you one by one. But Minister Anita Anand, when our fellow colleague, Associate Shubi, who's with us right now, when he also asked this question to Minister Anita Anand, what is your number one priority? So we asked point blank specifically, because everyone else in the mainstream media was asking this question, whether India is still involved in foreign interference, yes or no. So when we asked, what is your number one priority? Because this is being discussed that, yes, Canada is putting trade ahead and security concerns on the back burner. But here is Foreign Affairs Minister. It's up to you. What do you want to make of it? So External Affairs Minister Anita Anand, she clearly said this, that security is our number one priority. That's what Minister Anita Anand is mentioning. If we can keep showing Minister Anita Anand, because that's what we're talking about right now. So Minister Anita Anand clearly mentions that, yes, security is still our number one priority. So when Minister Anita Anand is saying this thing, and we are going to show you a few visuals of Minister Anita Anand and Prime Minister, the different meetings that they're doing. But here I also want to show you what Minister Ruby Sahota said. Now these are all different versions. These are all different versions. We get one version from the federal government's representative. We get another version from Minister Anita Anand. This is the third version. So different versions from the federal government. 3 different versions on India's foreign interference. 3 different versions on India's foreign interference. And if you have a look at this thing, No, if I can see if I can see from Minister Ruby Sota, yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, Minister Ruby Sota, not that one. So Minister Ruby Sota, now what she is saying, so Minister Ruby Sota is disagreeing with the federal government's representative. This is very, very important. Minister Ruby Sahota is disagreeing from her own federal government's representative who briefed the press. Because Minister Ruby Sota is saying something very different from her own representative of the federal government. So Minister Ruby Sota is saying that, while Canada continues to pursue constructive engagement with India, serious security concerns remain. She's saying serious security concerns remain. This is what Minister Ruby Sota is saying in her statement. She is also saying that as Minister of Public Safety has stated, outstanding issues related to foreign interference and transnational repression require a continuous, she's saying that you still have to observe that. So Minister Ruby Sota is questioning her own federal government's representative. So this is a very different version. So there is one thing being said by a senior official at the federal government, that was the briefing that was given by the federal government. So Minister Ruby Sota is not agreeing with that. She says any suggestions, so she's referring to her own government's representative. She's saying any suggestions that this foreign interference over, so she's completely disagreeing over here. She's saying no, that is not correct. So this is quite interesting that Minister Ruby Sota is saying any suggestions these threats have been resolved does not reflect the current security reality. So she's saying the reality is different. So Minister Ruby Sota's government's own representative said one thing and Minister Ruby Sota is saying something very different here. She's saying any suggestions these threats have been resolved does not reflect the current reality facing Canada. Our intelligence and law enforcement agencies continue their critical work to protect the communities and uphold the integrity of our democratic institutions. And she's also once again not only sidestepping, but she's also questioning her own federal government's representative, where Ruby Sota is saying, attempting to minimize these threat risks, eroding public confidence. She's saying public confidence and overlooks the ongoing efforts to protect communities targeted by intimidation and violence. So she's saying we are eroding the public confidence if we are saying that. Our government will always be guided by safety and security of Canadians. We will work with partners where possible, have difficult conversation where necessary, and remain clear-eyed and firm in defending Canada's sovereignty, democratic institutions, and rights of Canadians. So the question still remains that Minister Ruby Sota is saying something completely different. She's questioning her own government's federal official. So Minister Ruby Sota was she not briefed? Now a federal government's representative, federal liberal government's representative is briefing the entire media, and Minister Ruby Sota is differing from that, and she's saying that particular announcement is eroding the public confidence. So this is definitely in contrast. So here we have one cabinet minister clearly saying something very different from what the Canadian federal government's official is saying. So Minister Ruby Sota is saying something different. Minister Anita Anand, Foreign Affairs Minister, is saying something different. Federal liberal government's official is saying something very different. So all three very different versions, though we are sharing all that with you. Now it's for the audience to decide which version of the government would they agree on. But one thing is for sure, Prime Minister Mark Carney wants to forge a very important alliance with India, and Cabinet Minister Maninder Sidhu, our Cabinet Minister, most of the Cabinet Ministers I think seem to be in agreement, because Evan Solomon, Tim Hodgson, they're all there, they've already been there. And our premiers also want to forge a strong alliance. British Columbia's Premier David Eby was there. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith, she's planning to visit India. And right now we have Susan Holt, Premier of New Brunswick. We also have Scott Moe, Premier of Saskatchewan, there in India. So what we are witnessing, whether they're premiers or the Prime Minister's Cabinet Ministers, they all are doing trips of India. They all want to forge a good relationship with India. But here is one Cabinet Minister questioning questioning the statement. I'm not saying she's questioning the relationship with India. And I'm not sure whether Minister Ruby Sohota is in support of these stronger ties with India. So we will try to talk to Minister Ruby Sohota today or whenever her time permits. We are available 24/7, Saturday and Sunday. We are here on Channel Y. We are continuously giving you this coverage. Over to you, to our colleague Shubhi from Mumbai, India. Shubhi, what do you have to add? What else? Please go ahead.
Another quick question that I actually had for you as well is one of the two of the biggest provinces that intake people from India and South Asian countries is Ontario and British Columbia, right? So why do you think that Premier Doug Ford and the British Columbia Premier didn't come on this such an important visit? Because they're the ones that are heavily impacted. I understand Saskatchewan has a lot when it comes to energy, and there's a lot that New Brunswick is doing. But wouldn't you say it is important for the Ontario Premier and the British Columbian Premier to be here on this historic trip?
All premiers all premiers cannot go on the same time because of different schedules. And British Columbia's Premier David Abbey, along with his cabinet ministers, was just there in India. He was there in India a while ago, so he just came back from India. So and that time also questions were raised for British Columbia's Premier David Abbey that because the allegations of Hardeep Nijjar's murder, they are on the Indian government's agents. So these questions were raised at that time as well to British Columbia's Premier David Abbey. But they clearly said that yes, we are going there. And here are a few pictures that you can see. British Columbia's Premier David Abbey, he went to India trip recently. He's just come back, and along with his cabinet minister, Mr. Ravi Kalo, and other cabinet ministers were there along with him. So British Columbia is already trying to strengthen more and more relationship with India. And I'm definitely sure recently we saw a meeting. Now, here are the meetings that you're seeing. BC Premier in India with the delegation, and then you had delegation from India as well. And David Abbey, he met many different business and political leaders on his India trip. So, and when you're talking about Ontario, Minister Vic Fedeli was there in India recently, so he traveled extensively. Ontario is building strong ties with India as well. So there is not a single premier who's not building strong ties with India. Recently, India's High Commissioner to Canada, he also met Ontario's Premier Doug Ford. So High Commissioner Dinesh Patnaik, he had a detailed discussion with Ontario's Premier Doug Ford recently. High Commissioner also had a detailed discussion with Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith. Yeah, please go ahead, Shubhi.
As you know, we did have an exclusive question that was put towards the High Commissioner to Canada from India, Mr. Dinesh Patnaik as well. And he was also asked regarding the foreign interference stuff that you were talking about. And specifically, he was asked regarding it was something that he had quoted in an interview that he recently had given, where he said that if there is evidence does point towards India having any involvement, then India will take the appropriate steps, right? And that question was raised to him during this press conference. Why media also asked him in strengthening their ties, how does it benefit the Canadian people and the Indian people?
And we can
just give you guys, show you guys.
Let's have a listen. Let's have a listen on full screen. What the High Commissioner of India had to say, and let's have a listen to your question as well on full screen, please.
Sure.
Just a quick question from my end. In your opinion, can you highlight how strengthening Canada and India ties will benefit Canadians and Indians here?
Completely. On all fronts. On economic front, it benefits everybody. Greater economic prosperity on both sides. On the security front, greater safety for everybody. Indians, there's a lot of Indians, and you here in India, you must have seen, there's a lot of perception that Canada harbors people who are antithetical to India. You remove that perception, you remove the perception from the Canadian side that
just a quick question.
So Shubhi, tell us, because I think India has clearly said this, that India has not been involved in any kind of foreign interference. So India is clearly denying. High Commissioner of India, we've asked him when he was here as well, and as you're just mentioning, whenever anybody from media asks Indian High Commissioner Dinesh Patnaik about foreign interference, so from them there is a clear denial that there has been no foreign interference. So even I saw a journalist asking High Commissioner Dinesh Patnaik that in future, if India will commit that they will not do any foreign interference. So High Commissioner replied that yes, we have not done in the past, so how can we commit we won't do it in future? They said we have not done anything in the past. So there has been a clear denial from India. So India are not accepting anything. There's a clear denial from India's side. So the case is still in front of the court. There have been 4 arrests made in Hardeep Nijjar's case. Let's see where it goes. The case that is there. Of course, there is one Indian who's pleaded guilty to plot to assassinate Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. But that is in US. How closely are they linked? We will see. And at this point, I'll once again go back to you in India. Shubhi, what else do you have to add there? Please go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. No, there were a variety of different press conferences. We mentioned we did have a presser. Canada and Universities Canada was here, and they signed a deal in which one of the biggest ties that Canada and India have is people, right? And with people, one thing that they're looking at is also universities and educational systems. We had the president of McGill University, we had the president of Dalhousie, we had the president of UBC, and the president of University of Toronto here, and we spoke to them as well. We had some questions with them as well. But the main idea of this press conference was that they are signing deals for research, to bring students over, to bring more educated people to Canada from India as well. So a really big deal was signed on that front as well. So that was one of the key things for today. Then, secondly, we did also have some remarks from Prime Minister Mark Carney. But before he took the stage at the Canada-India Growth and Investment Forum, he did have a meeting with Mukesh Ambani as well. He had a lunch meeting with him, and we're waiting to hear more details on that front. Yesterday, he had a meeting with Tata. So while he's here, he is talking to many different major companies, many major people as well. Now, if we're talking a little bit more about the Canada-India Forum, just to give you the lay of the land as to what the situation was in that room, there was approximately around 100 to 120 people. There were some very well-renowned business owners, but there were also some people that were missing and weren't able to make it because they're away for the weekend. And they also there's 2 major billionaire weddings that are taking place as well. So some people are there, but Mark Carney did take stage today, and we will be presenting a full report to you guys as to what was said during that. Just to go over one of the biggest developments that took place today on a global level as well. And Virji, I'd like your opinion on this too. Is the U.S. and Iran war that. Today there was some missiles that were dropped across the Middle East as well from Iran's side, and President Donald Trump also came out. So, Virji, if you want to give a little bit more on that front, we'd love to hear that.
Regarding the Iran and the Middle East crisis. But before I do that, I want to quickly highlight the point that you were making earlier, that yes, there have been agreements in the education sector, and there have been announcements. Yes, University of Toronto was there, University of British Columbia was there, and there were many members from O.P. Jindal University. So a lot of educational institutes tying together between India and Canada. And also I can show you a few pictures of these educational institutes. That's what we want to showcase here on. If you look at these ties that were regarding the education sector. So it's good to see, the education sector coming along, and between India and Canada, a lot of agreements happening. But I want to specifically show you a picture because our Prime Minister Mark Carney was staying at Hotel Taj. You were there at Hotel Taj. There are visuals of Hotel Taj. But more importantly, the chairperson of the Taj group of hotels, but also the chairperson of Tata. Tata, we all know that Tata is one of the biggest business houses in India, and Tata not only owns and operates airlines as well, but also in the auto sector, in the tech sector, you name a sector, Tata is there. So our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, in Mumbai, he met with other business leaders, but he also met with the chairperson of Tata. And the statement that our Prime Minister Mark Carney made, if I could show you that on full screen, where our Prime Minister Mark Carney, he made a statement. He says that Canada and India are both growing economies with big ambitions in energy, technology, and artificial intelligence. So Natarajan Chandrasekaran, he is the chairperson of Tata Group, and they both met in Mumbai. So the countries can partner in these areas, create greater security. So he's again mentioning the word security and prosperity for both our people. So Prime Minister Mark Carney is continuously emphasizing on security, growth, partnership, economy, trade, artificial intelligence. So these are the key areas. And I think when I was reading here in many media outlets, they clearly said this. Prime Minister Mark Carney means business. And I think that's precisely the reason Prime Minister Mark Carney doesn't have any time to waste, because we are getting a lot of pushback from US. I'll talk about that later on. And Prime Minister Mark Carney, he clearly sees there are challenges that Canada faces with regards to trade with US. So looking at all those challenges, Canada aims to become an energy superpower. Canada aims to double the non-US exports. That's the targets set for Prime Minister Mark Carney. So both these targets, Canada aiming to become an energy superpower, Canada aiming to grow the exports, non-US exports, doubling the non-US exports, both these targets very well align with trade with India. India, Prime Minister Mark Carney has clearly said this, that India is the fastest growing economy. The numbers just came out recently for the economies at the global level. Many of the G7 countries that we are seeing, the biggest economies, the G7 countries, their economic numbers are 0.24, 1%, 1.5%. None of the G7 economies is growing by 4, 6, or 7%. India is growing close to 6 to 7%, the recent numbers that came out. And we saw Canadian economy shrink in the last quarter. The last quarter of 2025, the numbers just came out for all the major economies, but Canada's numbers are shrinking. And actually, Canada is the only country in G7 where we see the numbers are shrinking. So our Prime Minister Mark Carney is very mindful of that. And mind you, these are the numbers from the last quarter of 2025. We're already into the first quarter of 2026. Imagine if we get Canada's economy shrinking in the second quarter, so technically you need 2 consecutive quarters to call it a recession. If 2 consecutive quarters are shrinking, it's a recession. So maybe we'll hear this announcement in April and or May that Canada is into recession. We don't know. We are still into the second quarter. But we all know we are facing challenges. Our auto sector, steel, aluminum, all these sectors are facing immense challenges right now. We have seen General Motors, Stellantis, the losses, job losses in these sectors, steel, auto. So we need to diversify our trade. And to do that, Prime Minister Mark Carney, whether it's our trade relationship with China, whether it's trade relations with Europe, whether our trade relations with India, Australia, Japan, that's his next stop, Australia and Japan. So Prime Minister Mark Carney is trying for now to diversify the trade. And before I get back to you, I also want to highlight our Minister for International Trade, the Minister from Brampton. He has led from the front, Maninder Sidhu. And I'm showing you the visuals of Maninder Sidhu. He has led from the front, and International Trade Minister Maninder Sidhu, there you see him leading a delegation. He's having meetings in India. Maninder Sidhu, before even going to India, he was meeting with India's Trade Minister Piyush Goyal, and International Minister for Trade Maninder Sidhu, he is trying to lead our trade relationship in Middle East, in Europe, in India, and other countries. Let's see if Canada can be successful in all these. Shubhi, before I let you go, yes, we'll talk about Iran and everything, but our Prime Minister Mark Carney, let me share what he said, the statement issued by Prime Minister Mark Carney on Iran file. Prime Minister Mark Carney, he has supported US US-led invasion on Iran. So Prime Minister Mark Carney, in his statement in India, because when these strikes happened, Prime Minister Mark Carney was in India, in Mumbai. So in Mumbai, in India, in front of a business delegation, Prime Minister Mark Carney supported US strikes on Iran. Prime Minister Mark Carney has said that during the G7 summit that happened here in Kananaskis, Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney said on the security issue, on the issue of Iran, Prime Minister Mark Carney has made many allegations against Iran, and Prime Minister Mark Carney is saying that yes, we support the US-led airstrikes on Iran. So, Prime Minister, that's the statement for you, but detailed statement you can read on Midweek newspaper, but we just highlighted the statement that Prime Minister Mark Carney said. Yeah, over to you, Shubi. Before I let you go, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just quickly, one thing on the Iran thing, Prime Minister Mark Carney did make a few remarks as well. And Y Media has asked for a little bit of a backgrounder or a sort of a presser on why did Canada choose this stance, because it is a little bit different to what the NDP and the Bloc Québécois have come out with as well. So once we get those details, we will be providing them on all Y Media platforms. So make sure that you stay tuned to that. He did mention a couple of times that even at the G7 and at throughout the last year, they did tell Iran to come to the table to negotiate, to de-escalate, and they didn't. So that is the reasoning that he has given us as to why he does support U.S. and Israel. But once we get more details as to the reason why, we will be sharing them with you guys. Apart from that, a couple of quick updates. He did the meeting or the deal agreement that they had, that Canada, India, and Australia had at the G20 summit. Mark Carney also made a statement that he is looking to finalize that deal by the end of this year as well. And in other sectors as well, in terms of trade, in terms of AI, Canada is planning on investing more than $1 trillion in defense. They are looking by the end of this decade to invest more than $500 billion in finding new technologies, new AI robotic systems, new defense systems, and everything as well. So there's a lot of updates that are coming out from here in Mumbai, and we will keep you guys posted. Please stay tuned to all Y Media platforms, whether that's Channel Y Canada, Channel Y USA, Midweek Newspaper, Y Plus, Radio Y 105.9 FM, our online platform, SouthAsianDaily.com, Y.media, and our social platforms as well. So 9 different platforms. However you find it convenient to consume our content, please feel free to go and check out all our platforms. We will be giving you the minute-to-minute updates. Just a quick update for tomorrow as well. Tomorrow we will be leaving Mumbai, and we are going to be on our way to New Delhi. And once we get to New Delhi on the 2nd, the Prime Minister Mark Carney and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be meeting each other and having a lunch sit down as well. So we will keep you guys updated. Please stay tuned to all our platforms. I am here in Mumbai, in India, on Ground Zero, making sure that you guys are getting the minute-to-minute updates as to what is going on.
Much, and we are eagerly waiting our Prime Minister Mark Carney's meeting with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So we will keep you posted with that. That's happening on Sunday. Let me once again tell you that yes, we are here. I'm leading as a group editor of Y Media. I'm leading the discussion from Channel Y Studios right here in Canada, Toronto, and we have our colleague Shubi, our associate editor on Ground Zero, whether our Prime Minister is in Ottawa, is in Mumbai, India, or in Delhi meeting, the next meeting, as we've already told you, between our Prime Minister Mark Carney and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There'll be so many other meetings as well, business meetings, political meetings. We will update you. There will be a press conference as well. So we're eagerly waiting for that joint declaration. We are expecting few deals to be signed there in Delhi. So Shubi will be there in Delhi, and we will be here in Canada. So we will keep you posted on all that. Stay tuned with Y Media on all our platforms. Channel Y, if you are in Canada, you can watch Channel Y on Rogers 857, Bell 828, Telus 2418, Ignite 707. If you are in US, you can watch us on Dish Network. Channel Y USA is available on Sling on Dish Network. And in case you listen to radio, then please stay tuned with Radio Y FM 105.9, and you must read the biggest free English newspaper in Canada, that is Midweek Newspaper. We will give you all details on print, radio, TV, and on all our digital platforms. Why Media? Any information that you need, you can call us the number 416-475-5000, 416-475-5000. Shubhi, thank you so much. In next 12 to 13 hours, we'll once again catch up with you, take some good rest, and I know we will talk to you in detail once the meetings that are happening in Delhi, they happen, then we'll talk with you. Thank you so much for providing us in detail.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, this is Shuvi from Ground Zero. Please stay tuned to all our platforms. I'll be bringing you guys all the minute-to-minute updates here from India.
There are important developments with far-reaching consequences, Israel-US attack on Iran, its aftermath and implications.
Yeah, I think most of us know the backgrounder, but very briefly, because we won't have much time to discuss the backgrounder in detail, most of us know that. But just for the viewers' benefit, I'd like to tell you, when anybody was asking me, do you think US or Israel, they would attack Iran? So I give it in percentage terms, I would say 80%, 90%. The reason I was always saying 80%, 90%, because we all knew US warships, USS Abraham Lincoln or USS G4, they were all there already. There was a lot of build-up. So there was a reason that almost, these warships carry thousands of American soldiers. So we all knew there was a major build-up there, and US wouldn't spend that kind of resources without really planning something. And Israel, after the October 7th attack on Israel made sure they have a lot of control in Gaza, West Bank. They've targeted other areas as well. But now I think the final frontier, not the final, but for this operation, this particular operation, the final frontier, whether you talk of their ideology on Greater Israel, or they wanted to settle the scores once and for all. And it was Iran. And yes, we did see some conflict last year in June, the 12-day conflict. But this is a much bigger thing. Now, this time, US is leading and Israel joined in. The air attacks that we saw by Israel and Iran. So this is how they were planned. And major cities of Iran were targeted in these attacks. And we are seeing, listening, I'll talk in detail. There are some major leaders that are being targeted on Iran. Major cities, major leaders are being targeted, from defense minister to their supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. His residence was targeted. So we'll talk more about that. But then Iran also retaliated. Iran not only struck against Israel as it did last time in June 2025, the 12-day conflict, but Iran this time also struck hard against many of the Middle Eastern countries. Iran's foreign affairs minister is saying US has military bases in all these areas. So Iran retaliated not only against Israel, but also against Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. The only country that was left out was Oman. Oman, because it's Oman which is mediating the talks between US and Iran. We knew, Israel definitely wanted to go ahead and target Iran, and US also. And this time their objective, as much as both the countries are saying there are threats, there are imminent threats, or current threats from Iran against US interests or against Israel. We don't know how far that's true. Even many of the Democrats in US are questioning, as much as the Democrats are supportive of US targeting Iran. But they're saying, is there any imminent threat right now? Are we facing any real danger as we speak? So that was a question raised by Democrats in US. They're asking that. And what is the plan? So the two questions that the Democrats are asking in US, what is your plan? What is your end game? And can you show us any substantial evidence right now? Because, the Democrats are questioning that they've seen this story being played in the past in 2003, when there was discussion of weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, but they couldn't find anything in Iraq. And now the mega movement led by US President Donald Trump, while he was campaigning for becoming the president again, the mega movement clearly said we're sick and tired of wars, we don't want to go in any lengthy wars. And now this Iran war could once again, linger on. And one of the challenges they would be facing, there are around 30,000 US soldiers there. So if Iran starts targeting, and if there are any serious issues on that side, then of course President Trump, we're going to, he's wearing a baseball hat. Let's have a listen what he had to say for a couple of minutes, and then I'll start discussing. But he is clearly mentioning the reason why US is targeting Iran. US President Donald Trump is also saying, yes, there will be some challenges, whether we'll see some casualties there, or let's have a listen for a couple of minutes, and then we'll carry on our discussion.
Military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again, they can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack.
So, just as you're listening to the U.S. President Donald Trump, he's making a case why U.S. attacked Iran. But we've given you the backgrounder, and U.S. We have confirmation that U.S. White House, the Trump administration, they already spoke. We all know they must have taken Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, all these countries into confidence before taking such action. And one of the things that we clearly saw was that, yes, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he also visited Israel. So as much as I was sure there will be 80 to 90% chances of attack, but we also knew one thing that, yes, during Indian Prime Minister's visit to Israel, the attacks, that time what happened, because of course the major powers inform each other that, yes, this is what we're going to do. I mean, obviously I'm sure India would know when Israel and US would take that sort of action. And the ties that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi now has with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, both the Prime Ministers, they were seen in the same vehicle together. Benjamin Netanyahu telling Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi that you are our brother, serving food. Then Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he goes on to, give a speech in the parliament. And then also we saw their parliamentarians, lining up to take selfies with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So India and Israel, they have strengthened relationship, though Prime Minister Modi also mentioned about Gaza and Palestine also in the same breath. But I think India is now pivoting more towards Israel. Historically, India has been more aligned with Palestine. Yasser Arafat and all those leaders, they had strong ties with India during the Congress regime, Srimati Indira Gandhi. And India has not really abandoned the cause of Palestine. India still mentions it very clearly. I know many Western countries, they said it now that there should be a two-state solution. India said it 40 years ago. India always has supported two-state solution, which Israel clearly disagrees. US also doesn't support a two-state solution. There are many European countries. Till date, they do not support a two-state solution. They say, no, when time will come, then we will support a two-state solution. But India has supported all along a two-state solution. But India now has a very stronger and growing ties with Israel. That has shifted. So from India's perspective, I think when this war lingers on, and if US and Israel, they want a regime change this time. In case Israel gets a regime change, US gets a regime change in Iran, so how will that affect Pakistan and India? Pakistan has its major border with India, approximately 2,900 kilometers. After that, it has a major border with Afghanistan as well, around 2,300 kilometers. Then it has a major border with Iran as well, Pakistan, around 900 kilometers. Then there is the China border in the north, 500 kilometers. So Pakistan is already facing major challenges with the major neighbor, that's Afghanistan, because Pakistan and Afghanistan, or Pakistan and Taliban, they're already at war. So Pakistan has some sort of challenges on the border with India as well. So in case Iran has a major influence, a regime where Iranian regime is heavily influenced, or some might even say it's a puppet regime. They're planning to have a puppet regime or a regime or somebody in power who is heavily influenced by Israel. So I would say that could cause some concerns for Pakistan as well, because three of their major borders with India, Afghanistan and Iran, Pakistan could be facing all those challenges, and I'm sure they are weighing their options. And so is India. So this is not just Iran versus Israel or Iran versus US. This is a major conflict that we are seeing. The entire Europe, China, Russia, India, Pakistan, the entire Middle East, they're all going to be engulfed in this conflict one way or the other. So we will carry on updating you right here on Y Media Group what could be the possible result. But by the way, whether it is Burj Khalifa, yes, there are reports that Burj Khalifa has been attacked. Saudi Arabia has said that nothing much was reached here. There hasn't been much of a damage. That's what Saudi Arabia is claiming right now. And UAE has issued a very strong statement, because Burj Khalifa, when you target Burj Khalifa, when you target UAE, Dubai, everyone wants to move to Dubai. Dubai has always said, okay, this is the safest place in the world. Many billionaires, they moved there. There's lots of investment going on there. And right now, we saw some tensions brewing between Saudi Arabia and UAE. But on the Iran issue, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, because they're all strong allies of US. And I'm sure, as I already mentioned, the Trump administration has already spoken to all these Middle Eastern countries. And I'm sure these countries would be very much aligned with the US against Iran. Turkey is saying, the situation needs to be de-escalated. China and even Europe, French President Emmanuel Macron has said this. We need to de-escalate the situation. And Kamala Harris, the Democrat opponent against US President Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, the former vice president and the candidate for Democratic candidate for the president, she's also mentioning, no, this is wrong. She's not supporting this Iran war. She's saying US President Donald Trump is unnecessarily dragging us into this long war. So we will carry on. This is still a developing story, and I'm sure the chaos in Middle East, the crisis in Middle East, it will be unfolding for some time. And right here on Y Media Group, we will keep you posted on all this. Thank you.
Winding up on a heavy note, sir, T20 World Cup for men semi-final lineup is drawn. What's your take as a cricket enthusiast? On T20 Cricket World Cup, I think everyone is eyeing the big game, India versus West Indies. It's almost, you could call it a quarter-final, though the format doesn't have a quarter-final thing, but it is a quarter-final simply for the reason that whoever wins would book a ticket to the semi-finals. So India and West Indies, the match is going to happen in Eden Gardens. I think India should retain the same combination. First things first, I think they won the match against Zimbabwe in style, one of the biggest scores Indian batting team has made in the T20 World Cup. And I think, Sanju Samson, when he comes at the top of the order, when you give him the license to kill, he strikes it hard. He may score or may not score, but then Sanju Samson, I am very happy. This was my recommendation right at the start of the tournament. You should have Sanju Samson there. Abhishek Sharma, the number one ranked batsman in T20, once again, he seems to be back in form. He would score in some games. He has scored a few ducks in a row as well. But then you can't have a team without Abhishek Sharma. So Abhishek Sharma, Sanju Samson, and then you have Ishan Kishan. Why I wanted Sanju Samson there, I've already explained this earlier as well, because then that provides a cushion. Because if there is a quick wicket down in the first or the second over, right there in the power play, you don't want to bring in Tilak Verma or Surya Kumar Yadav. Why? Then they would take time to settle down, because you don't want to lose another quick wicket in succession, and Tilak Verma and Surya Kumar Yadav, they would want to settle down. But in case you lose Sanju Samson, Abhishek Sharma very quickly, no worries, you still have Ishan Kishan. He won't stop. You need to make the best use of those power play overs, West Indies are going to make the best possible use of that. You have Brendan King there at the top. You have captain and wicketkeeper Shai Hope there at the top. You have Hitmar there at the top. And of course, there is Roston Chase, Rutherford. They're all big hitters off the ball. So they have a top-heavy batting lineup. They will make best use of the power play. And this is the style, the West Indian style. And they have some good bowlers in their lineup as well, good pace bowlers, but good spin attack as well. So West Indies, they're enjoying, they have always enjoyed this format of cricket. There is a reason that they took the World Cup in 2012. There's a reason they missed out on 2014, but once again they came roaring back. They took the T20 World Cup in 2016. West Indies, England and India, the only three teams who have won it twice. So this format suits West Indian cricket. The Caribbeans love playing across the globe in different leagues, including IPL, the Big Bash League in Australia, or the Pakistan Super League. They love this format. They're a very dangerous team.
India has a good middle order too. Hardik Pandya is good, Shivam Dubey, they can both hit huge sixes. India has a good bowling attack too. Arshdeep Singh, the leading wicket taker in T20s, then Jasprit Bumrah, the Jasprit Bumrah. You have Varun Chakravarti, who's one of the leading wicket takers in this format. So I think India has a good team, and if I had to put my money, I would pick India. 60% India, but I'll still give 40% to West Indies. It's going to be a cracker of a game. I'm eagerly waiting. India versus West Indies. And let me tell you this, Sunday morning, wherever you are, tune into Y Media. If you are in US, New York time, 8 a.m. and Toronto time, 8 a.m. If you are in New York, Channel Y USA. If you are in Canada, Channel Y Canada. We are here. We are going to have live discussions starting at 8 a.m. The toss will be done at 8 a.m. We'll have the playing 11s. We will have a discussion starting 8 a.m. right here from Channel Y studios. Harbinder ji will with me. We will have panel members as well. We will be talking India versus West Indies. Sir.
That was a special feature segment, and we were talking to our group editor and CEO, Yudhvir Jaswalji. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more.
Thank you.
Y Media. Y Media. Y Media.
Y Media.
Y Media.
Y Media.
Stay tuned with Y Media.
Y Media is a media company. With 360-degree approach. In reaching the audience over 8 media platforms. Television, Channel Y Canada, 24/7, available nationwide. Toronto,